Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show.
It's that time again. We're going to go through all the stuff that the Greyhawk community has published on DM's Guild and elsewhere. Today on Greyhawk Grognard. So this episode is going to cover everything that has been published on DM's Guild and a couple other places between November 19th and the 30th. And from this point on, I'm going to try to go to a weekly schedule because there's just too much great stuff coming out to do it monthly or bi-monthly. So look forward to that. And that said, here we go. Here we have the map of the Flanaess from Thunderstruck Workshop. It is what you're getting here. Basically, is a map of the Flanaess, and if you scroll down here, the artist is Michael Saxton, who I've never heard of, but that doesn't mean he's not good. They do give a low res sample on the DM's Guild page here. You get a map with names and locations, and you get another map without. It's not. I'm not gonna lie. It's not the Darlene map. It's not. It doesn't have that kind of aesthetic quality to it. But it does serve the purpose. It's got everything on there. I haven't done a hex by hex comparison, but it looks like it matches up fine with what Darlene did and other cartographers later. So the big benefit of this, though, is that because it's DM's Guild, other people can use it in their products. So I expect you're going to be seeing a lot of Mr. Saxton's map going forward. If you're going to be doing something that needs a map of the Flanaess, there's no reason not to use this. And here we have Greyhawk Adventures Horror and Hommlet, an adventure for 3rd to 4th level characters by Christopher Hamwell, whom we know and love and have seen a lot of his stuff here. First, right off the bat, there is a slight issue with this title. It is not tagged as being Greyhawk on DM's Guild. So I just found it by accident. But because I normally go to the setting filter down in the lower left corner of the page, and I choose Greyhawk, and you won't find it doing that. I just stumbled upon this. So Christopher, if you're watching this, you might want to go in and edit that and check that box so that it shows up as a Greyhawk product. This is normally $2.95. It's down to a little over $2 right now on the screen because of the Black Friday sale that you see. Artists are Oerik von Darknoir again, and map by Dyson Logos. This does use an original map from the original T1 Village of Hommlet, which again I think is kind of dodgy. You're not supposed to use PSR or Wizards art unless it's specifically granted. But oddly, the Moat House dungeon is a map by Dyson Logos, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, but yeah. This is basically rekeying the Moat House, the famous adventure location from Village of Hommlet, assuming that the players have gotten rid of the Temple of Elemental Evil, and that happened in the past. It has now been taken over by the cult of Vecna, and it uses the same maps, but it rekeys everything, adds some new exciting things. There's a new monster, the Eye of Vecna thing. It's like a creature with a big eye for a head. A couple other things like that you would expect for a Vecna-themed adventure. It's 28 pages, and it's got the full color inside. And hey, what can I say? It's good stuff. And for $3 or $2 now, the price is right. So if you want to keep your players going in the Hommlet area, this is definitely the way to go. And here we have Trinkets of Greyhawk, Village of Hommlet by David Stevens. This is an 8-page PDF for $1. And it's basically a list of dungeon dressing or things that you can have the PC start out with if they're adventuring in Hommlet. They're little just, non-magical things that are tied into the region somehow, like a piece of driftwood carved into a crude likeness of the old moat house and things like that. It's certainly not necessary to run the dungeon, but if you're going to run Village of Hommlet, you couldn't, this is a neat way to throw in some dungeon dressing or wilderness dressing or stuff like that. I mean, I suppose you could, take some of the things in here and run with it if you wanted to really flesh things out. So, and hey, it's a buck. How can you not? So yeah, this is definitely on the list of stuff that's you might as well get it because it's only a buck. But it's got good stuff. It's got some interior art by C. Jensen, Bob Gravenstein, Rick Hershey, Daniel Commercy, Maynard Christensen. And like I say, it's 8 pages and color interior, no AI, looks good. All right, and here we have Sapphire Ninja's Grim and Gritty Greyhawk Rules by Bruce Paris. Um, this is credits Wizards of the Coast as the artist. I'm not really sure how that works, but it says it's 5 pages, but the actual stuff is 3 pages long, and it basically gives some optional rules for how to play 5th edition Greyhawk and make it grim and gritty. So it says stuff like, it talks about short rests and how long rests work and weapon mastery and stuff like that. Um, for character creation, you roll your 3d6 down the line, and if none of your scores are over 13, you get to roll again. You get to choose a class from the that suits your highest score and stuff like that. It definitely is bringing this back to a much more old school feel for Greyhawk, and hey, I love that kind of stuff. Um, it's a dollar, of course, and for a dollar for 2 or 3 pages, again, the price is right, and if you find some inspiration in here to make some changes to the rules for 5th edition to make it more feel like more what is it, Five Torches Deep, I think it's called, which is a similar thing. That's a whole game, obviously, but this is just like a couple of pages. I would absolutely. This is worth it. I saw a couple things in here that make sense to me that I will probably use when I run 5th edition in the future. Here we have the Village of Sheernobb 3 Orcs Village Series DM supplement by 3 Orcs. This is a technically 54-page PDF. In on the back it says it's 40 pages, so I don't know if that's just a typo or what. And basically, this is part of their Verbabonk campaign guide, which is itself an expansion of Temple of Elemental Evil. That's a big theme that we're seeing. Everybody loves Temple of Elemental Evil, and they're making expansions for it, which I approve. This is $10, and again, you get 50 pages. It says 50 pages on DM's Guild, says 54 pages on PDF, on Acrobat, and on the back it says 40 pages. So I'm not sure what's going on with the page count. Basically it's a gnomish village in Verbabonk, and you can use it as a base of operations, and you can do some adventuring there. It's basically a way to give the players a place other than Hommlet in order where they can hang their hat and go between adventures. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Very nice art, which I believe is AI generated, but I can't be sure because they don't really specifically credit it one way or the other. It just has 3 Orcs for the art. But it kind of has that feel. I might be wrong though. Hopefully they'll chime in the comments and clarify one way or t'other. It's got some nice maps of the place. It's got a bunch of side quests, personalities, a bunch of new monsters. So it's definitely, if you're really going to hit the Temple of Elemental Evil region hard, this would be something that could be very useful for you if you want to go in that direction. And again, $10, 50-ish pages. Hits the right spot for me in terms of price. So do check it out. Here we have the World of Greyhawk Gazetteer revised by Paul Jurdzik, Mike Bridges, Samuel Dillon, Stuart Kerrigan, Paul Luby, Matthew Fenn, David Shepard, and Troy Alleman. You might recognize some of those names if you are a Greyhawk fan, because a lot of them are very well known in the Greyhawk fan community and have been around for a long, long time, and they do good work. Artists include Joey Dosel, Dan Smith, Felipe Faria, and Anna B. Meyer, who also did some of the cartography and the heraldry. This is basically a redo of the Gold Box Gazetteer, and covers a lot of the same area that my own campaign guide did. But nothing says you can't have more of the same thing, and pick and choose what you want to do with it. It's got the usual stuff you would expect for something like this. Just to quickly, I'm not going to read the whole table of contents, but it's got history. It's got the calendar. It's got the different the peoples of the Flanaess, both human and non-human. And interestingly, they take the same approach with some of the 5e races that I do. Like tieflings are going to be very rare. Dragonborn, you're not going to see a lot of them. They do give some alternatives for some other things based on, on the Flanaess, and it all fits in very nicely. So I think that was very well done on their part. Gives a couple paragraphs for each one of the realms of the Flanaess. Talks about the geography, the mountains and the hills and the highlands and all that good stuff. Has a quick overview of the deities, factions. Talks about gray space and wild space and spelljammer and stuff. Which again, I love it. I did the same thing in mine, and I really think that's a strong way to go. It covers explicitly lore changes. So I did a video a while back on changes in the DM's guide from the original published lore, and they go through and they categorize and itemize all of those changes, which is a very, very handy thing to do if you want to make a comparison. It's got further reading and source books and published adventures and so forth, and fan community resources. So this is a great, great thing. It is 85 pages long, and it is pay what you will. It's that is, you can't beat that. For 85 pages for all that content, and it's pay what you want. Get this. There's no reason not to. Throw them a couple of bucks, and definitely it's a best silver seller already, which means a lot of people have forked over more than what is it, 100? No, more than $4 qualifies for the count on that, I believe. So it's definitely worth getting. A lot of good stuff in there, and again, you could combine this with my effort and pick and choose the best parts of both, and be very, very happy. And here we have Greyhawk Expanded, a player's guide to Oerik by RVN Creative Studios. Inside, it credits K. Scott Agnew as the lead designer, additional design by Kevin Knight, and so on and so forth. This is how many pages? 210 page long book. It covers a lot of the same ground that we just talked about with the Gazetteer. It's got there's a couple things going on here. This was in some form or other, I believe this was published and distributed through a Patreon that they had, and the Patreon was actually taken down. And I'm not exactly sure the reason, because I wasn't a part of that Patreon, so I don't think I don't know for sure what it was, but there's kind of iffy things were floating around in terms of the Kickstarter, the Patreon, sorry, and it's interesting. One of the things you got to remember with this, however, it is not really. It doesn't follow the traditional canon of Greyhawk, because it proposes a different geography for the rest of the continent of Oerik. Back in Dragon Annual number 1, a map of the whole continent was published, and a lot of the fans don't like it because it's basically a big box with triangles on the corners and stuff. And it's gotten a lot of heat over the years, but it's what we got to work with. And if you ditch that, you ditch a lot of other stuff, like the entire um, Sundered Empire campaign setting, and a bunch of other stuff like that. Uh, so what they've gone and done is they've taken everything west of the Flanaess, and they've kind of just made their own geography for it. So if you don't mind that kind of stuff, then you're not going to be bothered by this like I am. I kind of like I kind of like to expand on stuff without contradicting what had gone before, and this is a complete redo of what had gone before. So that kind of rubs me the wrong way. It does give an extensive, almost 50-page long history of Oerik, which is, yeah, goes into a great deal of detail. There are uh, 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 alternate subclasses for all the different classes plus artificer, but it's got new cleric subclasses and paladins and all that good stuff. It's got new backgrounds, new feats. It has stuff on the languages and the different species and so forth, and weapons and armor. It's pretty comprehensive. But again, this is kind of more this is a greater variance from traditional Greyhawk than you're going to see in a lot of these other publications. And again, if that doesn't bother you, that's your call. It is $19.99, and again, you get 210 pages for that. It's got a bunch of art inside, stock art, and looks like a whole bunch of other art as well. It's produced pretty well. There's nothing to really complain about on that score. It does not have bookmarks, unfortunately, but that's a minor thing. But in terms of uh, like the subclasses and everything like that. It's just there's a lot in here that would be of interest and usable, but you'd have to be again really careful to know where you're stepping when it comes to the changes that they've made to Greyhawk for this. It's more of an alternate Greyhawk. So that said, $20, 210 pages. The price point's right, so there it is. Here we have The Grey Grimoire, issue number 4, autumn 2024. This is a kind of a fanzine produced by Greyhawk fans. It is available as a free download. Again, as with everything, links will be below. And it's produced by the fans. The editor-in-chief is Ewan Cummins. It's got an assistant editor, Gary Francisco and Samuel Weiss. Content editor, Rick Miller. And on and on and on. So in this particular issue, we have here's the table of contents on the screen. On the screen here. Sorry about that. Where we have the Tale of Two Dalts, the Legend of Altamira, Curl, and Devon. Each one of these is going to be written by a different author, which is kind of nice. Gods of Greyhawk, Part 3. Going through the different pantheons and so forth. The Kingdoms of the Tooth. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, and again, it's a free download, so hie thee hence and go get it. You're bound to find some stuff that will be of use for you in your campaign. And I support always folks creating content for this sort of thing and submitting it. I haven't done that yet for the Grey Grimoire. I've got a couple ideas I'm kicking around in the back of my mind. For my own submissions, but I've just been too busy with other stuff. No reflection on them. So, free download, go get it. So there we are. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I will be moving this series to a weekly cadence, assuming I can keep up with that hectic schedule. And, links to everything will be below. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.